I will explain you why you can always change your ex's decision. Perhaps right now you feel stuck, you think that you've tried everything, when you talk with your ex, he or she seems really sure about the decision and they push you back, and you feel really anxious, you feel it's over, you're about to give up. Perhaps it's the last video, you're watching this video and feel like, okay, if I don't get the answer in this video, I quit, I'm gonna give up. Well, bear with me till the end. I will explain why I'm so optimistic about your case. Jingle.
IGetMyExBack.com. Everyone deserves a second chance.
Let's take a step back and understand how people make decisions. And I looked at some studies before making this video. In simple terms, when you make a decision, you think, I choose X, I do this, and I expect an outcome. I expect I will receive Y, or something that will increase your happiness, your wealth. I will buy Apple stock because I expect the stock price to rise. Okay? I decide to end the relationship with my partner because I expect that I will be happier without them, or that I would suffer less being alone or with someone else. Okay? And we make about 30,000 decisions every day. When I looked at the number, I was like, that's a lot. It's because most of them are unconscious. When you walk, for example, you make the assumption that the floor is flat. Okay? You don't look at your feet when you walk. Okay? It's exactly the same here. All the decisions we make affect our future and are assumptions. This is the key takeaway of this slide. Every single decision is an assumption. And you, X, made an assumption. Okay? An assumption. So what is an assumption? Typical assumptions. I will be happier alone. I will suffer less if I'm alone. I will be happier with this new partner. She or he will never change. I can't make him or her happy. Something that we hear sometimes when avoidants decide to end a relationship. They feel, you're so invested, you're so into me that I feel I don't want to hurt you and therefore I prefer to end things. I feel I can't make you happy. Okay? These are assumptions. What is interesting with assumption is that they are not true unless we prove them, right? We are making a bet. We're making a bet that I will be happier alone, but we are not sure. And as we can't always predict the future and we statistically make a lot of mistakes, sometimes when we fall down, we think the floor is flat, and then we fall down, it happens. Well, we don't make often that mistake, but with relationship, people make a lot of mistakes and make wrong assumptions. You'll see that it really depends on you. Most of our decisions are irrational. Let's play a game. How many of the decisions we make do you think are unconscious? Is it like 50%, 70%, or 90%? It's actually 90% of our decisions are unconscious. So it's been developed by the Kellerman, who's a Nobel Prize, and who wrote the book Think Fast and Slow, and he explained the system 1 and 2. I don't want to bore you too much with this in this video, but it's basically saying that most of our decisions are unconscious. Even when we think we make rational decisions, we buy a product, when we get into a relationship, when we leave a relationship, mostly unconscious. And so obviously, when it comes to relationship, when it comes to something that's highly emotional, there's a lot of unconscious there. There's a lot of things that are from the fear, from that feeling that we suffer, that feeling that we're not understood. Right, it has nothing to do with the rationality. Good thing, and that's why I wanted to make this video, it depends on you, right? The problem people have, and perhaps you have this problem, people spend 80% of their time wondering about what their ex are up to, whether they're gonna reach out. whether they're dating someone. They're really focusing and projecting their attention, their mental bandwidth on things they can't control. Okay? It's kind of the Pareto Rule. Usually 20% of your action come out to 80% of the result. 20% of your actions is, for example, watching this video, trying to work on yourself. Now, the question is, how can you take those 20% and make it 80%, really accelerate things? What I want you to do is to spend 80% of your time addressing this assumption, addressing the assumption that they will be happier without me, addressing the assumption that I feel I can't make you happy. Spend more time to figure out what you could do. What you could do today, what you could do next week, what you could do in a month. Okay? And be realistic. There are things you can't do. There are things that might take time. Okay? If you need to go through therapy to figure out your insecurities, your different traumas, it's not going to happen in a week. Okay? If you've been together with your ex for 10 years, for example, it doesn't really matter if it takes you a year to get back together. And I'm very confident saying these things because I know and I have examples of people getting back together after that amount of time. What only matters is the amount of effort you're doing to go into the right direction, to make the necessary things in your life, to order things in your life in the right way. And yes, people change their mind. You might object, yes, but my wife, especially my wife, people say that, my wife is stubborn. She never ever changes her mind. 3 reasons I think it's false. The first one, because I've recovered a relationship when people were calling me and telling me, you're my last hope. My wife is so stubborn. I'm sure she's never going to change her mind. She never does. Anytime she makes a decision, it's, and we recovered that. The other thing is your ex wants to be happy. We all want to be happy. If you manage to show them that being with you will make them more happy than being single or that being with that rebound, it's a done deal, okay? And see, you had something. You are leveraging your history, right? I'm not talking, I can't help people who want to seduce people. If you tell me I'm in love with someone, I want you to help me seduce her and get her to marry me or him to marry me, I don't know how to do that. Okay? It's really, really hard. What I can do is I can leverage the history. What you can do is to really understand, you had something special. Perhaps you were married. How come you went from sharing the best day in your life, your marriage, with someone? People say, my marriage was the best day, to a place where you divorced or you're not together anymore. Okay, you have history. It's just a question of how can you turn back things that went wrong. And this is why it's important for you to understand the concept of organic recovery. Your ex wants to be happy. You had something special. Therefore, you don't need to force things. As long as you do the right things, as long as you act in a respectful, mature way, and do the right things to work on yourself, to become the partner they expect you to be, or to address some of the things that you did wrong, because of course you've done some things wrong throughout the relationship. Otherwise you wouldn't be watching this video. Perhaps they did something wrong as well. It's a dynamic, right? Don't get me wrong. There's one tiny problem though. Your ex decision was highly emotional, right? And they took a while to act. And I looked at the type of decisions. So you have impulsiveness, compliance, delegating, so you don't want to do it. Avoidant, deflection, you sweep the dust under the carpet. You prioritize and reflecting, which potentially could be the case for breakups where you prioritize your happiness versus the structure of the family. But in breakups, most of the time it's balancing the pros and cons. Should I stay? Should I leave? Should I stay or should I leave? Actually, a very good book, Should I Stay, that I recommend if you want to break up with your partner. It will take them a while to deconstruct their thinking process. I often say that it's about 30 to 25% of the relationship when you think about breaking up with you. So if you've been with someone for 3 years, you're thinking about breaking up with them for about a year. Okay? So even though it's emotional, it's potentially irrational, it took them a while to think about that. Hence, the organic recovery. It took them a while to process. It will take them a while to deconstruct that thinking process. So, when I say organic recovery, and again, I'm not saying this just to make you smile, or it's just because it works. Okay? I'm a very pragmatic person, and you're lucky that I use what I learn with my clients, the mistake that they make. Sometimes I made mistakes in the past. But one thing is sure, if you are meant to be together, you will end up together. That's it. Time has no importance. Of course, emotionally, you feel anxious, you feel lonely, and you want to reduce that time apart. And I get it. But if you are meant to be together, time has no importance. Whether you should break no contact now, next week, in 2 months, in 6 months, whether you should craft a letter or something like that, there is always a time when people reconnect. You've been together for X amount of years. There will always be an element because you have common friends, because you live in the same city, because you have same hobbies or stuff like that. There will always be, because we really underestimate the amount of connections we have with someone. There will always be a time when you will be reconnect. Now, of course, I'm saying this because I'm assuming that you can be back together. If you are not sure and want to know whether you have any chance, take the quiz. I put together a quiz and it's totally free. But the idea, and again, I'm a pragmatic, I don't want you to waste your time. If you're watching videos like mine and you have no chance of getting back together, you'd rather know it sooner than later and work on healing from the breakup, work on moving on. However, if you feel that if you have a score above 15 on the quiz, what I just said is relevant and you should sort of do the necessary things to get back with your ex. If you have any question, don't hesitate to let me know in the comment section. Take care of yourself and remember, if you are meant to be together, you will end up together. That's it. It's as simple as that. Take care.
Power for a long time. Get up, nah, I ain't a quitter. Toss me the ball, I'm a really big hitter. Big picture, I'm a straight killer.